I'm just finishing up making tortillas. Got like 2 left to make. I'm reaching beyond the camera to get my dough. My last little tiny bit for a mini tortilla for the baby, I guess. And then we're going to get rolling on tonight's dinner that shouldn't take very long, which will be good. All right. I'm going to get this out of the way, and then we're going to get started. So, I have made, right down here, tortillas, and then the grain-free ones are there. I'm doing both because my husband is trying to go low carb, and I already lean more towards low carb, so that's why we're going to be making both versions of the tortilla tonight. If you've never been introduced to this tortilla, hey Jenny. If you've never been introduced to this tortilla, these are amazing grain-free tortillas. They are keto. They are not GAPS, but they are low-carb keto. And they roll over. They're beautiful. You can use them for almost anything. And the recipe is in my cookbook. We don't have the links down below. So Jenny, to answer your question, we are building the addition on our house this weekend. So my husband's taking Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, and the goal is to find enough help to enclose the 2 buildings. So that is our goal this weekend. And I think we can do it. We just need enough volunteers. So anyway, that's what's happening. Beautiful sourdough tortillas. They're also bendable. If you don't overcook them and they're still warm, they bend really nice. Just don't wait to make this dish until they completely cool off, because that's a bad idea. So I'm going to get out my shredder really quick. It's my food processor. Jenny said, I might be coming down, might have to volunteer my hubby. That'd be awesome. The day he needs the most help is Saturday and Sunday. Possibly Monday, although a lot of the guys, you know, it's a holiday, so people aren't wanting to help, but I know he's got a couple of people who volunteered, if they remember that they volunteered, to help on Saturday. It's just, I'm so pregnant now, I can't be doing ladders. I can't be up helping with the tall stuff, so that'd be great if that works out. So I'm just going to go ahead and shred all of my cheese for tonight using the food processor. It's just faster. I buy all of my cheese in a block from Azure Standard. And then if we need shredded cheese, I shred it. And the reason why is a lot of times if you buy pre-shredded cheese, it has some anti-caking agents in it, usually things like wood pulp. And I don't know about you, but I don't really feel like eating wood. So anyway, we buy it in a block. It's cheaper this way anyway, and then I just shred it. So we're after approximately 4 cups of cheese. And this is sharp cheddar. This is sharp cheddar. Whoops, you guys went for a little ride there, didn't you? Let's fix that. Okay, hopefully you guys will stay where you're at now. That was a little bit wild of a ride there. All right, I'm going to grind this down. Got my piece a little bit too big. Yeah, no, you're not happy yet. You'll be alright. We'll get through it together. This food processor has been with us for a couple of years now. And we a lot, especially during the harvest season. It's the only one that you can buy that can make peanut butter without it starting on fire or smoking at the cheapest money point. special note, Julie, if you are on here, I have not shipped your apron yet. You guys, these are going to be going up in the store here soon. I'll have a link down below. The stay-at-home mom who makes these is still making them. And I just wanted to say they're really good quality. I've had this for over a year. It's been washed probably 100 times. And as you can see, all of the lettering and decal are still intact. This is high quality stuff. It's not like a lot of the other YouTubers that sell merchandise and you wash it through one summer and you lose half of your letters. Doesn't happen with this. So Julie, I will be shipping yours. Her kids had a stomach bug this last weekend, so I'm keeping my distance until her family's through with it. And then she will work on the aprons and I'll get it out to you as soon as possible. Okay. But those will be up in the store soon. They are $30. That's including shipping. Or I might do $25 and you pay for shipping. I haven't figured that out yet. But it will be up in the store soon. Because they last. I love it. I was just thinking about today how much I love this apron and how many times I've washed it and spilled stuff on it that should have stained it and it didn't. And it still fits me even though I'm like 6.5, 7 months pregnant. So even if you have a larger waist, it will still fit. Some aprons that you buy have the tiny little strings, and if you are well endowed or pregnant or a little overweight, they ain't gonna fit you, but not this one. This one's got nice long strings. Okay, so that was our cheddar cheese. The next step is going to be making homemade Pico de Gallo sauce. That's how I pronounce that. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but we're just gonna roll with that for now. I'm going to grab my blade for the food processor. Just switch this food processor into a, or sorry, the shredder into a food processor. I'm going to move the other blade out of the way so nobody cuts their fingers on it. Okay, so I have a whole bunch of garden fresh tomatoes right now, and so that's what we're going to use to make the Pico de Gallo sauce. I do not have any fresh cilantro. All of my cilantro in my greenhouse totally fried. So I'm going to be using dehydrated cilantro from Azure Standard for the cilantro portion. So the recipe calls for 3 cups of tomatoes, 1 cup of onion, some lime juice, which I also don't have. I'm going to use lemon instead, jalapeno, and then cilantro. So I'm going to go grab some beautiful fresh from the garden tomatoes, and we're going to get to chopping. We're going to get them right into here. I'm just going to core them and then we'll move them right into the food processor. Okay. Flash is kind of annoying. Alright. My house is full of tomatoes, ripe tomatoes everywhere. I'm trying to not feel overwhelmed, but I do have a ton to do. Which is pretty much why my videos I haven't really posted anything lately. It's because, guys, like, it is harvest season mega. We harvested a whole bunch of pumpkins today. We're gonna, and let's see, spaghetti squash, and next week looks like it's gonna be butternut squash. We've got tomatoes coming in like crazy. It's just nuts around here. We harvested all of our meat birds last weekend. So we've been going like crazy. There's no vacations around here, and like I said, this weekend we're going to be hopefully connecting our homes, our 2 homes. And so it is crazy. I'm trying to not overdo it. I will say that butchering on Saturday was a little bit much. That was 8 hours on my feet. That was a bit much, so I'm still trying to recover from that as well. Which usually wouldn't bother you, but when you're pregnant, it sure does. But it does feel good to have everything in the freezer and have everything taken care of as far as meat on the farm for this year. Okay, so I'm just guesstimating on the tomatoes. If you guys couldn't guess, I got some medium tomatoes. I'm just coring them, cutting out any of the iffy parts, and then adding them to my food processor because we're going to the food processor do all the chopping. Because we already have it out and it's already dirty. Okay. That might make 3 cups, but I'm going to go grab one more tomato because, well, I've got a lot of tomatoes. So let's get one more tomato for that food processor and then we'll get to going on that. This is what I get for planting 97 tomato plants this year. And then mulching like crazy with, we'll just call it barn leftovers and straw and stuff you normally throw in a compost pile. We just threw it on the garden. And then all the rain we got. So I'm just gonna put the lid on and I'm gonna just kind of pulse this so it drops down a little lower, and then we'll add some of the rest of the ingredients. Move some of this out of the way. Okay. I'm going to go grab the onion and we're going to add it right to the food processor there. This is one of Azure Standard's smaller onions. I'm going to add it to there. Usually the onion's about twice this size. But it'll be perfect for this recipe. Oh, and just a reminder, make sure you guys, if you're able to, hit the thumbs up button because, like I said, in past lives, I have noticed a huge difference in the amount of people who end up seeing my videos with lives where we hit that thumbs up button. It's not about me. I don't make a penny off my channel, but it does get that the videos into more hands when you do that. So I really appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna put some lemon juice. If you have lime, go ahead and use lime. I need about 1/3 of a cup. I'm just gonna eyeball it. And then I'm actually gonna like bring over a box of garden goodies from this morning, because in here, under all of my cucumbers, which need to be turned into pickles, also on the list, and under my nice peppers, which I don't even know what kind this is. I didn't even plant a yellow pepper, you guys. I've never seen that in my life, a yellow bell pepper. Anyway, it was right next to the plant with the orange ones. Whoa, you guys went for a ride again. Jeez. My stand is failing me. But anyway, I've never seen a yellow one. It was right next to the nice orange ones. Alright, I am after serrano peppers. You could use jalapeno. I like serrano. So I'm just going to do one because I don't want to burn my children's taste buds out of their own mouths. So we'll just do one serrano. You guys could do one small jalapeno as well. Or if you like it spicy, do a couple. But since I gotta feed the kiddos, I don't want to scar them for life. Okay, and then cilantro. Like I said, I don't have any fresh. If I did, I'd be using 3 tablespoons. I'm going to use dried from Azure Standard. My cilantro is done for the year. It just got fried into the greenhouse. I'll probably make a mental note and put them outside next year, just so I can keep it going. So 3 tablespoons of cilantro is going to be about 2 teaspoons of dried cilantro. So I'm just going to kind of do a couple pinches. I'm just glad that I bought the dried cilantro. I'm not even sure why I bought that, but I did a while back, and so I'm glad I have it on hand. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pulse this. Another option is to buy Pico de Gallo sauce from the store. You can totally do that as well. Okay. just going to dig in there with a spoon and or a fork and just make sure that a lot of the bigger pieces are broke up. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to do just a couple more pulses. And then that will be done, and then we're on to the next step. Okay. This is done. Looks delicious. And as it sits, before we go to use it, the dried cilantro is going to absorb some of the liquid from the tomatoes. So anyway, it won't be like a dried herb, it'll be more like fresh. I'm going to set this behind the camera here. Okay. So the next step is just assembly. Super easy. The trickiest part is deciding what size of a sheet pan you're going to use for this recipe, because it really depends on the size of your tortillas. And since the size of my tortillas totally varies depending on the tortilla, this could be interesting. So what I typically use, if I have store-bought tortillas, is a big sheet pan like this. This is actually a jelly roll pan. I'm just going to kind of roughly lay them out on here really quick, and I'll decide if we're going to use this or if I'm going to switch to something else. You could also use like a 9x13 pan, but because I have a large family, I don't have a smaller sheet pan than a jelly roll pan. If you have a smaller one, that's great. It'll work great. So the basic idea is we're just going to be layering these tortillas. Oh yeah, we're going to have enough. Let's see. Perfect. Okay, so I've covered the entire pan, and I have some that's hanging on over here. And there's a purpose behind the hanging over, because we're going to end up folding this in on itself. So I'm actually probably going to swap some of these out. We want kind of bigger ones towards the edge, because you want extra hanging over. And that's what creates the crunchy taco. If you are open to corn tortillas, not everybody can handle them, but if you're open to them, you can totally make this like a huge crunch wrap supreme, but obviously more nutrient dense, because you would do sourdough or sprouted tortillas and sprouted corn tortillas in the center. Okay. I cooked up some of the chickens that we butchered this weekend, so we've got fresh chicken. It's kind of crushed because William like shredded it with his hands. You could also do beef. If you want to do beef, we are running low on beef until the cow goes into the butcher this winter. So you're probably going to be seeing a lot of chicken meals from me. But you sure could fry up some ground beef and put that on the bottom here. So you just need enough meat to cover the bottom, because you're going to cover it with other things. But we don't want someone to feel like they're just eating a tortilla with no stuffing. So fill it up good. The recipe calls for 3 pounds of ground beef, but I really feel like that depends on what fat content your beef is. A lot of times grass-fed beef goes further because it's not as high in fat as corn-fed beef. They miss some bones. I'm going to pull them out before somebody chokes on them at dinner time. Okay. It's fully loaded, okay? The next thing that's going to be added is onion. You can either put raw onion in, which is what I'm going to do, or you could saute it. My kids actually love raw onion, so like on their food and their taco stuff. So I'm just going to go grab another onion. We're going to get diced on up. From scratch meals are so much easier if you can have tortillas made up and in the freezer. Or if it's in your budget to buy sprouted tortillas and you have access to those, that makes it a lot easier. I actually do not have a store locally that sells sprouted tortillas of any kind, including corn. It's kind of a bummer. So I end up doing sourdough or using my own sprouted flour to make my own tortillas. I know Azure Standard sells sprouted corn tortillas. I don't think they sell sprouted flour tortillas, but I might be wrong about that. It's also about food budget, you know, so you have to kind of depend on where you're gonna, what that looks like for each family. Okay. I'm gonna chop up some of these onions a little bit smaller because I don't need an uprising. So tonight, I'm so proud of Nevaeh. Nevaeh was a little nervous and didn't want to go last second, but she's actually at a farmer's market with my co-chapter leader, running a booth for the Weston A. Price Foundation and doing a demonstration of how to make homemade kombucha. So she really didn't want to go last second, and I think it was just nerves, you know, of being in front of lots of people and having to teach total strangers something new. But I'm super proud of her that she went. That's great. It's good to have little younger generations be involved with the Weston A. Price Foundation. Jenny, I saw your comment. I'll get to it in just one second. I got onions on my hands. I'm going to go rinse my hands off. I'll be right back. I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 400 degrees. Oops, 100. Okay, I'm going to check comments and we're going to keep on going on dinner here. Hey, Steve. Or so that's actually Julie. Hey, Julie. So in the beginning I said that I had not shipped your apron yet because the mom had an illness at her house. So she's starting on them now, and I will get it to you, I promise. She said we just found sprouted tortillas at our local discount store and bought almost all of them. Oh, I would. I'd freeze them. If you can find them on sale like that, totally freeze them. Anyway, I know we're good, Julie, but I just want to let you know that I haven't shipped it yet. Okay. The next thing that the recipe calls for is 6 tablespoons of taco seasoning. I'm going to be using my own. Did I check my oven? It's empty. We're good to go. Thank you, Jackie. Can't wait. Thank you. No hurry, my friend. I know, Julie. I know. I know you're not worried about it, but I just wanted to say it so that you would know that I hadn't shipped it yet, so you weren't looking for it. Okay, so taco seasoning is the next ingredient. It is, the recipe for this specific one is inside my cookbook, so if you don't have my cookbook yet, pick it on up. And we need 6 tablespoons. I gotta find a tablespoon measurement, guys. Bear with me here. There we go. It's a miracle. They loaded the dishwasher. Okay. So 6 tablespoons of taco seasoning, which is the equivalent of 2 of those large packets. And I might go on the small side on this too, because once again, I don't want William to think it's spicy. So I might stop at like 4 maybe. We'll do 4.5. I don't want it to not have flavor, but I don't want to burn his lips off. He is like one of my more sensitive kids when it comes to spice. Okay, next thing is the homemade Pico de Gallo sauce, okay? And I'm going to get a scoop of some sort here. I'm going to remove the blade and we're going to dump it on there. Oh, this stuff smells so good. Alright, so it's just going to kind of get drizzled over the top. And you can use however much or however little you want. But it is kind of the moisture to the taco itself, so don't skimp on it too much. Okay, there we go. Julie says, will you write out this recipe in the comments? Yes, I need to make more I need to make this or just a quick recap of layers. Yes. So I can do both for you. So it's just a regular pan down here on the bottom. This one's a cast iron, or not cast iron, sorry, stone. And so because it's stone, I didn't grease it because I don't think it's going to stick. If you use stainless steel, make sure you put some of your favorite healthy, nutrient-dense fats on the bottom. But this one is seasoned so well, I don't think it's going to stick. If it does, then oops, I was wrong, but I don't think it's going to. Then we have sourdough tortillas that are layered on the bottom, and then ones that are hanging over the side. We have 3 pounds of meat, is what it called for. Really depends on the size of your sheet pan. On the bottom, we have a chopped onion. We have the Pico de Gallo, which I can type all the whole recipe into the description box. And then we have the homemade taco seasoning, and on top of that, we're going to put our cheese. A whole layer of cheese. Don't skimp on the cheese either. I'm saying that more for myself because a lot of times I'm like, ooh, maybe we can get by with just like a little bit less. No. Get that cheese on there, mama. There we go. Now, the next part is kind of tricky. We're going to put tortillas in the center. And we're going to fold these tortillas that are hanging over the side underneath them. And then we're going to use, if we have to, we'll use a cast iron skillet of some sort to weigh it down so that you have it folded on over and it doesn't overflow everywhere. It's pretty packed. I should have started in the other way. It helps if you like lay all of your tortillas going the same direction, which I did not do. I wasn't paying attention. So like start here and work your way around when you lay them, and then you can just fold them up in that same order. I did not do that. Just takes a little more manipulating to get it to go so it's not going to flow all over my oven, but it can be done. Okay, so that's what it looks like. And it kind of looks like it's going to stay, and it kind of doesn't, so I might put a cast iron skillet on this to bake at 400 degrees. It's not preheated yet, though. But that's what it looks like. And like I said, you could totally do, you know, in the center over the meat, you could do a layer of corn chips or a layer of sprouted corn tortillas, and then some more toppings, and then close it up. That's totally fine, too. And then what we're going to do is when we go to serve this, we're going to take a pizza cutter and cut it. And then each person can just take a piece of it. And you can serve it with more of the Pico de Gallo sauce, or you can do sour cream. I mean, it's endless. It's a Mexican meal. So as soon as that oven is preheated, we'll stick it in. And it's going to look something like this inside the oven. Like that. And then we'll bake it for half the bake time and then remove the skillet and bake it for the rest. But it's basically, the skillet is to weigh these down, because always sometimes when stuff bakes it opens and you don't want everything to flow all over your oven. That's a big mess. So that's the first one. The second one is for my hubby and I, so I'm going to grab like a smaller pan. This one's going to be glass, so I'm going to go ahead and coat it in the lard. You could also use tallow, coconut oil, goose fat, duck fat, all good healthy fats. Butter if you wanted to. Okay, so same thing with the grain-free keto tortillas. I'm going to try and remember to go around the same way with this one, so it's a little bit easier to fold here in just a minute. I just love these tortillas. I haven't made them in a really long time. Kind of made a whole bunch for a while there and kind of got sick of them. But it is always a good time to bring that recipe back. Okay, so some more chicken here. You could use ground beef though. You would just saute it on up. Add it to your wrap there. I used to, back when I ate fast food before I was, let's see, what's a nice word, before I was filled with wisdom as to what nourished and not fed looks like. I used to go to the drive-thru a lot at Taco Bell to get their Crunchwrap Supreme. It was one of my favorites. But I will tell you that 3 or 4 years ago, I went through and got one, and I could not believe how horrible it tasted to me, which is so funny, because it was my favorite. I'm actually going to go ahead and saute this onion really quick because my husband would thank me for it. Either I'll just do half with onion. You know what? I'm just going to do half with onion because he really doesn't want the onion anyway. So, and then I'll make him choose which half he wants so that if he gets the half with onion, then it's his fault. There we go. I've got it all well planned out. Okay. There's my half with the onion. And you know what, really, if he kisses me after dinner, he's going to get the onion anyway. So, there we go. Okay, there's that. We need taco seasoning. This is a much smaller container, so I'm thinking probably only like 2 tablespoons. See about the flavor here. There we go. Yeah, 2 tablespoons for sure. This is a 7 by 11 pan. Would easily feed 3 to 4 adults with 1 serving. But I know I'm going to be eating more than 1 serving, and my husband will too, so it'll probably all be gone. Okay. Man, this stuff smells so good. I love the serrano pepper, though. That's my favorite pepper to work with for salsas and stuff. Just my favorite. Okay, cheese. There we go. And we've got tortillas that go down the middle. Actually, let's start rolling first. Okay, where's the top one? This one is the top. There we go. That's a little bit better. That's how it's supposed to go together, guys. Nice and smooth. And then you set your tortilla on the top. To hold it down. This one only needs like 1 tortilla. That's kind of sad. There. That's a little bit risky right there. I'll just add a second one just in case. There we go. So now that one is completed, so that would be a grain-free. I don't think you could call it keto because it has tomatoes in it. But it's definitely low carb. Way to go on this little dish. And our oven is just a few seconds away from being hot. I just know it. And then we're going to talk about a book. All right. So my book recommendation for the time being is this one. Even if you're pregnant and even if you don't have gestational diabetes, you probably know someone who's pregnant and you probably know someone who has gestational diabetes. So this same author, which is Lily Nichols, also wrote Real Food for Pregnancy. So even if they don't have gestational diabetes, still a very good book and author to get into those women's hands. The reason why is because this is very, very close to the way I cook here on the channel. And it basically is introducing the nutrient-dense way to the pregnant and gestational diabetes mom. And I've already skimmed through this. I knew a lot of everything that was in here. But basically, I ordered this because I was doing my gestational diabetes testing, and we had to put the brakes on because I didn't understand why I was having some high numbers, particularly in the morning, actually only in the morning. And so anyway, through doing a whole bunch of research, I do not have gestational diabetes, but I had already ordered this book just in case I did. And like I said, there's just a ton of really good information in here. There's meal plans in here. There's how to balance your food throughout the day to help balance your blood sugar. There's an introduction to healthy fats. Talks about exercises, all of the kinds of supplements you should be on for pregnancy, which I didn't know that magnesium plays a role in blood sugar. Had no idea. But anyway, it talks about all sorts of things, vegetables that hijack your blood sugar and those that don't. So it's just a really, really great book. It's on Amazon. It's like in the $20 range. So like I said, even if you're not pregnant, even if you don't have gestational diabetes and you are pregnant, there's a real food for pregnancy and real food for gestational diabetes by the same author, which is Lily Nichols, okay? And the book is available on Amazon. I just recommend that everyone go out and buy it because you will come across someone who's pregnant or you will come across someone who has gestational diabetes. And if you can get this book in their hands, you could change their life and the life of that unborn baby, soon-to-be child, so that they're raised in a nutrient-dense home. So go check it out. It's amazing. And like I said, for $23, it's definitely something that everyone should have on hand to pass out to those mamas, okay? So anyway, I didn't really gain a ton from it because I've already known most of this, and I usually eat this way anyway, but it was a good thing for me to have so I could say, yes, indeed, I do not have gestational diabetes. I am fine. But also just to have it on hand to hand to those who I come in contact with, because I do come in contact with other mamas who are having babies who may or may not have blood sugar issues. So it's a super good book. You have to go check it out. Let's see. Other than that, my kitchen's a mess. I'll show you. It looks better than what I did earlier. But I've got, let's see, which way? This way. Nuts soaking there. This is dirty here. Well, that's dirty too. Anyway, and that roaster is full of more chickens that we're cooking down from butcher. Over on the table right there is like probably 30 pounds of tomatoes, and there's a whole thing behind it that's full as well. I have a whole other crate. You can kind of see the red crate right there. It's also full of ripe tomatoes. So, tons of tomatoes. It's a busy time, you guys. It really is. But I am so happy to have a nice harvest that I can put up for my family. Julie says, yum, thanks. This is an easy summer meal. It sure is. As soon as you get the tortillas, either you or make them, it's just done. We're going to go ahead and bake it at 400 degrees. If it needs a weight, which I think this first one does, so we're going to put the cast iron skillet on there. It's going to bake for 30 minutes at 400 degrees. And then after that, we're going to remove that cast iron pan and let it bake for another 30, okay? We want these tortillas to be crisp when they come out. We don't want soggy tortillas. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the oven, and I'm going to answer Julie's question. All right, hang on. Here it goes. I'm going to have to pop this. Hang on. I have to move up my rack so I have enough room for the cast iron skillet to fit. And just a reminder, remove your silicone grips if you're going to be putting it into the oven. These silicone grips are super handy. I just bought them on lodge.com. And I love them because they slip off. So you can do your cooking and your pan can get hot on the stove or in the oven. And then you already have like a little built-in oven mitt for your cast iron. Works super good. So Julie asked, what am I going to be making with all my tomatoes? That's a really good question. So I have, let's see if I have my thing in here. We are sitting at 26 quarts of diced tomatoes, and I need 36, so I'll be making 10 more of those for sure. And then after that, I've been actually putting, slicing some of the smaller ones and my red cherry tomatoes. I grew these really big red cherry tomatoes. They are larger than a quarter. They're probably a good inch all the way around, maybe even bigger. And those I've been chopping them in half and putting the skin side down on my dehydrator and dehydrating them and making sun-dried tomatoes out of those. So some of the big slicers will go towards that. But a majority of the tomatoes I have right now that are in are my paste tomatoes, which I did not grow very many of this year. They just did really, really good. So I'm probably going to make up some sauces with those, just because I know that they have less water content. Of course, I'm going to have to take a day off of using my roaster to cook down all of my chickens so that I can make that up and get it into the canner and get it going. But I do have like stuff like spaghetti sauce that's still on the list. I got to make up 8 more quarts of that. Ketchup that's on the list. Although I think with the ketchup this year, I'm going to be using Azure Standard's tomato powder, just because in the past, one of the issues that I've had is I can't get my tomato sauce to get smooth enough for it not to be chunky, like the homemade stuff for the ketchup. And so I'm going to try that tomato powder from Azure Standard. The tomato sauce it produces is like super smooth. And then I could just add my seasonings to it and can it up like that, and it'd be nice, smooth ketchup. Yeah, I have I don't know if it's inside my, hang on, let me see if it's inside my cookbook. Probably not, because you have a cookbook and you're asking, so it's probably not in there. But let me look anyway. Usually it's just like literally you cook your tomatoes down to a sauce and you add basil, oregano, rosemary, onion powder, garlic powder, salt. Let's see, do we have any? Doesn't look like I put it inside my cookbook. Well, maybe I'll have to make a video about that then. Yeah, because I still need to make 6 more jars of the spaghetti sauce. But basically it's just those ingredients that you add to the already cooked down tomato sauce. And then I also need to make pizza sauce this year. That's not like a huge thing I have to do. But whatever I run short on with my Roma style tomatoes, I'll just lean onto the Azure Standard powder, because that's the reason why I bought that powder. I bought it as an insurance as far as if my tomatoes don't do good this year, if we were still in a drought, as far as through the summer goes, and I didn't get very many tomatoes, at least I had a way to make my tomato products out of their organic tomato powder from Azure Standard. So if I run shy on tomatoes to make everything that I need, I'm going to just pull the powder down and use that to make the home canned products and get them on the shelf ready to go. The other thing that's big that's coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks is the orchard that we take care of in a neighboring town is going to be coming ripe. So I'll have all of that. Last year I took 700 pounds of fruit and put it up in the pantry. This year I will not be doing 700 pounds of fruit. We still have applesauce left over. We still have pear sauce. It's more of like the smaller jars of spiced pear sauce, which is inside the cookbook. That is to die for. We ate almost all of that. We have like 1 jar left. So, but that's all going to be coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So it's just kind of a crazy harvest season. I'm looking forward to a frost. I'm looking forward to slowing down, less flies, less mosquitoes, and just being able to kind of like set baby and like kind of shift from putting as much food up as I possibly humanly can to I'm not going to say more relaxed, because it won't be more relaxed, but winding the farm down for winter and getting things ready for baby. So anyway, but yeah, that's my list. I'm about halfway there on a lot of the things. Salsa, I'm good on. I've put up 40 quarts of salsa so far. Otherwise, I'd be putting my sliced tomatoes into salsa, but we already have plenty. If I can't figure out anything else to do with them, I'll probably do that, because we do love salsa. But maybe I'll make a different one. Usually I make creamy salsa, which stretches your tomato harvest out, but I might do something different because I have so many tomatoes. I put up a ton of corn. That was 2 or 3 weeks ago. We put up almost 100 quarts of corn. That was nuts. That was a very busy week. That was probably too much for a pregnant person. But I have amazing kids and they helped me get it done. So yeah, so that is my plan with the tomatoes. I'm going to try and make up as many of those sauces as I possibly can. And the slicers will probably go into the spaghetti sauce because I don't mind having some chunks of tomatoes inside my spaghetti sauce. But then the rest of it will probably be the paste tomatoes and or the Azure Standard organic tomato powder mixed with water to make the base for it. So when I get started on all of that, I will make videos on it because I should just point out, don't have one for spaghetti sauce. But also, I don't have any videos up yet on using that Azure Standard tomato powder, which even if you're not a canner, you guys, if you've never looked into that and you order from Azure Standard, you really should, because the price for it, if you buy a pound bag, which is around $60 of the dehydrated organic tomato powder, all you're doing is adding water to that to mix your own tomato juice, tomato sauce, tomato paste. And you save so much money doing it. So for instance, when you buy the 5-pound bag, it equates down to like a 15-ounce can, which are the taller cans of tomato sauce. Only costs, I think it was like 32 cents, 36 cents, something like that for organic tomato sauce. You can't buy non-organic tomato sauce for that. So it is a steal of a deal. And if you have not bought that yet, they're now selling it in Mylar bags. So that means that if you don't use it this year, that's perfectly fine. You can have it for next year for insurance for your garden. So anyway, go check that out. That's Azure Standard Organic Tomato Powder. They sell it right on there. And they sell it in a smaller than 5-pound bag, but it's a little bit more pricey, so your price per jar of tomato sauce will go a little bit up. But it should still be cheaper than buying it already made in a can. And you're just adding water. That's it. So super easy. You dump the powder into the water, you whisk it around, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and it turns it into sauce right in front of your face. It's amazing. So that is it for tonight, you guys. We got dinner into the oven. As I said, it's going to bake with that. Oh, here's another question. Hang on one second. So it's going to bake with a pan on it for 30 minutes at 400 degrees. We're going to remove the pan and then finish baking it for the other 30. I missed some questions. Julie, yes, the mosquitoes are here. I don't know. Well, it was all the rain. We got several inches of rain. But I feel like I was like in summer and it was hot enough to not like really have mosquitoes, if you know what I mean. And then like I went to bed and then I woke up and they all hatched overnight. And I thought the mosquitoes were bad before this. And I know I said on here before, mosquitoes love me, all right? And if I were to go outside naked, especially right now, they would just all bite me and have a free flight wherever I wanted to go. No airfare needed, you know what I mean? But man, it's nasty, and the flies are starting to bite as well. I think it's because fall is thinking about coming, and they get that like suicidal type, tendencies where they'll land on anyone or anything, fly into your eyeballs, your mouth. Doesn't really matter, and they just kind of like wait for you to kill them. That's starting here as well. I don't know about for you, Julie, but that's definitely starting here. So anyway, yes, the mosquitoes are horrible, and they're really bad out in the garden, unfortunately. Jackie says, do you have a good relish recipe that tastes a lot like store-bought? So what type of relish are you looking for, Jackie? Because there is dill relish, there's sweet, like sugary relish, which I don't have a recipe for that. And then there's like zucchini relish, there's tomato relish. What are you talking about? Help me out on it, and I'll give you some hints. If you're still on here. Which I'm sure you are, because you always stick till the end. So, we'll start with pickle relish, dill pickle relish, until I get your answer. So what I do, I'll go grab some. I'll show you. Hang on one second. So I totally don't can this because it's fermented, okay? But you can see, it's just sitting inside my fridge. So all we do is we take our overripe cucumbers, and if they're yellow, we peel them. If they're still green, we leave the skins on and we leave the seeds in. You guys can see that. And then all we do is we follow the same seasoning as the fermented pickles here, but you don't add as much water. So fill it with the chili, the red chili flakes, the dill seed, the dill weed, all of those same ingredients into the jar. And I use my food processor to dice up the cucumbers, but you sure could use it by hand. And then we just add just enough liquid to submerge it. And then we set it on the counter and we kind of stir it once a day so it doesn't grow mold on the top. And also for the color, I add, depending on the size jar, for quarts, I add 2 teaspoons of turmeric powder, which gives that kind of, you know, yellow store-bought look. So that's how we make our relish here. You can also skip the fermenting part and use a lot of the same seasonings and just put water. But if you can get fermented food in your family on top of a hot dog or whatever you want to put it on top of, I say that's a win. So this is just going to live inside our fridge. We have about 4 of these, which will definitely last us until probably next summer. And fermented food, just in case you don't know, stores just fine into the refrigerator for at least a year. So this is just going to hang out inside our refrigerator. Now, as far as sweet relish, I don't have a recipe for that. And the reason why is because we don't eat sugar. So you could probably just take a regular sweet relish recipe and swap out and put honey in there. I've never done that. My kids are big dill pickle, fermented pickle, wowza type people. And so I don't commonly make the sweet dill relish. But like I said, I would be more apt to find a recipe for sweet relish just on the internet somewhere and swap out the sugar for honey and just see where you get. Because that's safe to do even with canning. I had that question come in this week. Someone had canned up some tomato sauce products and forgot to put in the sugar. And they were wondering, is it still good now that I've spent all this time canning it? Absolutely, it's still good, you guys. The sugar is in there for taste. So you can totally swap out that sugar with honey and still can it. It's perfectly fine. I've canned with honey for a long time. But anyway, as long as you're not messing with the ingredients in the canning recipe that change the pH, so things like lemon juice, lime juice, apple cider vinegar, you don't want to mess with those because that's what makes it safe to can. But as far as sugars go ahead and swap it out for honey. Totally safe. In fact, a lot of my recipes in the back of my cookbook, in the canning section for things like apple pie filling, you are already, if you're going to follow the recipe, using honey. So perfectly safe. So I would just find a really good recipe that you think you would like, or maybe ask a friend if you had the relish and it's good, and I'd swap out the sugar with honey and proceed forth. It should be delicious. But that's how we do relish around here, is we ferment it. It looks watery because it is, because we have to keep that brine above the relish so it doesn't mold, okay? But that is that. Those pickles, I just have to rave about these, and it could be just because I'm pregnant, but the pickles, the open kettle pickle recipe that I posted up here, Grandma's Crunchy Pickles, are like singing to my taste buds this time around. I think it's just because I'm pregnant, but it turned out so good. So if you guys haven't seen that video, go check it out. You do not need any canning experience to make those, okay? All you need are the canning jars, lids, rings, and the ingredients, and that's it. No canner involved. But they turned out amazing, and it's a great way to get raw apple cider vinegar into your kids and yourself every day, which is a total health boost no matter what. But the flavor is just amazing. It's been really interesting to see my family's taste buds change over the years when it comes to pickles. Really, none of us like store-bought pickles anymore. It just tastes different. They just taste different. And so when your taste buds start to sway, you crave that vinegary fermented flavor that are in the home fermented products over something like a Vlasic pickle. And that makes me feel good as a mama to have my kids say, oh, these pickles are good, but not as good as the fermented ones. That'll put a smile on mama's face for a while. So anyway, that is how I make my relish recipe. But I think I'm caught up. Let me just double check and make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, so Julie, I will go back and type the recipe ingredients in the description box. I just didn't have time this week, and I forgot all about it last week. Things are just nuts around here. So I will go and I will type that in the description box to make sure everybody has the ingredients. And this is going to be done and ready for me to remove the cast iron skillet here in about 10 minutes. And then I will finish baking it. So it's a total cook time of 1 hour. And if you don't need, if your tortillas stay compressed, and you don't need a weight of like a cast iron skillet or something, then you can just bake for the whole hour. You don't have to stop at 30 minutes for any reason. But that's how that goes. And like I said, we're going to take a pizza cutter. We're going to cut it into, squares. Everyone will get a square, and then they can top it with things like sour cream, salsa if they wanted to, more of the Pico de Gallo sauce, cheese, lettuce, whatever you'd like to put on there, avocado, guacamole. All those things are really, really good on this meal. So that is how we're going to top that off. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. If I have time to get out another video this week, I will. I'll just have to see how my week goes and how harvest goes. At least will be the weekend before I start something. So anyway, you guys take care. Thank you so much for joining on, and I'll see you guys in the next video.